Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Sunday afternoon. Well, it's Sunday afternoon here if you're on the West Coast. It's still morning time. Might be nighttime for Caitlin over there in Europe. Russell, happy tomorrow, right? Russell's in, you're in Australia, aren't you, Russ? What's up, Danielle, Jeremy, Keith, Christine, me? Not me, not myself,
Hello.
but me. What's up, Jeremy? How's it going, man?
Going well.
All right, so glad to see you guys all here. We had the last couple sessions. Seems like everybody's been a little bit busier, so we're really stoked that you're here. This is kind of the last lesson for this month. We'll do a little Q&A afterwards too. But first of all, I want to congratulate everybody on 3 weeks of great progress. I know a lot of you have been working very, very hard. You guys have been focused. You guys have been learning a lot. And you've been making big changes. We've been seeing some incredible progress this week. Just super happy to see everything that everybody's doing, taking to heart, and implementing all these principles that we've been talking about the last few weeks. So let's recap what we've talked about so far. First of all, first week we talked about setting up the macros: protein, fat, carbohydrate. Two of those macros absolutely necessary. One of those macros not necessary at all. We do not need to intake dietary carbohydrate, but we do have essential amino acids and essential fatty acids that we all need to eat. We need essential amino acids. We need essential fatty acids. They're crucial. Protein, most important macronutrient long term to understand is protein for everybody. Because protein is the satiety-inducing macro, natural foods that are protein-rich, meaning animal foods, are always going to come with an abundant fat source as well. I mean, I guess there's some fish that are pretty lean and chicken's pretty lean. But if you're going for ruminant animals, you're getting protein and fat-rich ruminant animals, red meats, as a crux of the diet. You're going to be getting all the amino acids you need, as well as the essential fatty acids. And of course, fatty fish are great also. But we want to make sure we're getting enough protein every single day. A lot of us were under eating on protein. Quite a few people in here were under eating the protein. So getting to the basics, protein is an essential macronutrient. It's the most important macronutrient to understand in the beginning. So get enough protein, that's number one. Next macronutrient is fat. Of course, we talked about fat coming with the protein source. So your steak, if it's nice and marbled, is going to have a significant amount of fat on it. If you're eating more of a lean protein source, you might want to add some fat to your meals in order to make up your fat intake. Now, the fat intake varies, and it's going to be dependent on the context, on the individual, on your goals, on your preferences, and on your history. So protein intake, making sure you get enough protein intake is also similar, right? Some people might prefer more protein. Some people might need less. A good safe number to start with is about 0.8 grams per pound of your lean body mass. 0.8 grams per pound of your lean body mass. Or if you got a lot of weight to use your goal weight. Right? So do like 0.8 times if you want to be 140 pounds, and that's your goal weight. 0.8 times 140. Good estimation of about how much protein you will need to maintain satiety, to keep your insulin levels low and your glucagon levels high so that you can create ketones and burn fat and body fat. And fat intake, usually when you start out, you want to go at least 1 gram of fat per gram of protein. All right, that will usually be decent fat loss macros for people who have to use a lot of fat, lose a lot of fat. 1 gram of fat per gram of protein is usually a pretty decent deficit, but some people might require less fat. Right? If you're trying to lose body fat, your hunger is so low, you might want to be in the lower end of the fat spectrum. Right? But around 1 gram of fat per gram of protein to start. Sometimes some people feel better a little bit higher. If you're trying to gain weight, not trying to lose weight, trying to maintain weight, maybe about 1.5 grams of fat per gram of protein. Now, like a therapeutic ketogenic diet for somebody who's dealing with epilepsy or something like that would usually be around 1.5 to 2 grams of fat per gram of protein. But of course, remember, it's all dependent on context. For fat loss, the most important thing to remember is get enough protein. That's going to bring satiety. Eat the steaks before the cakes. Eat the steaks. You're not going to care about the cakes. Get that protein in. Fat intake, you will adjust according to your needs, right? If you're trying to lose body fat, you're going to need less fat than if you're trying to maintain or gain weight. So we've got to understand these things. Protein, fat, crucial. Carbohydrate, not necessary. Right? If you like vegetables, if you do well with vegetables, great. Enjoy the veggies. Have the low glycemic, more fibery vegetables. But understand that fiber is not this magic panacea. It doesn't really play out in the real world how some of these like enthusiasts of fiber claim it does. A lot of people do better on lower fiber. That doesn't mean fiber is inherently bad, but some people just don't need it and feel better without it. So, protein and fat, we need those macros. Carbs, non-essential. Your body can actually make the glucose you require for certain cells to function. You can make that glucose through a process called gluconeogenesis in the liver. Gluconeogenesis isn't bad, it's necessary. We need it for ketosis, we need it for health. Now, that's the first week. We talked about setting up the macros. Next week, we talked about meal timing. We talked about intermittent fasting, the role of time-restricted feeding in fat loss, how it can be an effective tool, but it's not exactly the best thing for everybody. Some of us working night shifts, some of us not getting that good of sleep, might do better eating breakfast and not skipping breakfast in an intermittent fasting routine. Now, you can still do intermittent fasting while trying to correct for your circadian rhythm by skewing the meals a little earlier in the day. A lot of people might feel much better on an intermittent fasting routine that includes breakfast. Of course, this depends on context. So we talked about trying to get dinner in about 4 hours before you're going to be sleeping, at least 4 hours. That doesn't mean you have to eat a meal 4 hours before you go to sleep, but your last meal, you want to spread that out, or rather you want to eat your last meal well before you're trying to lay down and fall asleep, because after you eat a meal, your body's digesting. You're moving nutrients through the body, and it takes energy, and it wakes you up. So if you want to sleep well, don't eat right before you sleep, right? Midnight snacking really messes up the circadian rhythm. We want to be fasting and relaxing in the evening. And in the morning, for most of us, it might be the best time to get those calories in the daylight hours, right? In the early day. Of course, I'm not saying across the board for everybody, but when we're dealing with circadian rhythm mismatches, when we're dealing with cortisol rhythm that might be a little bit out of whack from poor sleep cycle or high stress, or interrupted sleep for a prolonged period of time. Like if you're a woman, you got babies, your sleep's probably getting interrupted all the time. So in those cases, might be better to eat breakfast and not skip breakfast and not wait till the late afternoon to eat your meal. Okay, week 3 we talked about circadian rhythm, the circadian rhythm and light. Right, our exposure to light is very important. Our entire metabolic, our body, every single metabolic process in the body is initiated through light exposure. Every single hormonal process of your body is kick-started by light. When you wake up in the morning, light comes through the window, hits your eyes, goes into your brain, and triggers your body to stop making melatonin. That blue and white frequency of light that you see in the morning tells your body, don't make melatonin. Tells your body, wake up. It's not time to sleep. It's time to be awake. So we talked about the detrimental nature of artificial light for the circadian rhythm. So if we are experiencing poor sleep, if we're in an office all day and we're not exposed to natural sunlight, we're not getting all those natural full spectrum effects from the sun, which is the only real full spectrum light device that we know of. It's the sun. If we don't get that exposure and we're only exposed to artificial light, we can get pretty out of whack with our hormones. We can become more insulin resistant because blue light will actually trigger more insulin resistance. And that's will make us more hungry, make us more prone to storing fat, make us more prone to having cortisol out of rhythm in a high when it's not supposed to be high and low when it's actually supposed to be higher. We want to avoid this situation by lining up our circadian rhythm with the cycles of light around us. Right, so that means when the sun's out, do your best to get outside. Do your best to get natural sunlight. Get the sun on your eyes, the sun on your skin. Natural sunlight goes far beyond just vitamin D. And we've also got the red and near infrared frequencies that will improve cellular respiration, that will greatly improve metabolism, and will reduce inflammation dramatically. And you get those from the sun. So reduce the exposure to artificial light as best you can. If you got to work on a computer, if you're sitting in an office, you know, Jessica and I are on a computer right now. We work online. We're constantly on the computer. It has an effect on health. It has an effect on well-being. It has an effect on mood. It's not a beneficial effect, right? You get that zonked feeling after you watch a really long movie and you're staring at a screen for a long time. It doesn't feel good. Now, there is something you can do if you got to work on a computer. There are a few programs that you can use. One of them is called F.Lux. F.Lux is free. That's a pretty cool one. It's not perfect. There's another program called Iris. I think it's iristech.co is the website, right, Jessica?
Yep.
Jessica will put a link. When we drop another link in there, circadian rhythm section. Jessica will put a link in the circadian rhythm. And
I think if they use our link, there's a 10% off code.
oh, cool! You can get 10% off it. So Iris is, I think it's $10 or $15. It's an improved blue light blocker for your computer. So it will effectively shift all the frequencies of light out of that white and blue range. And Flux does a similar thing. What Iris actually does that's really cool, though, is it changes the flicker rate. There's a dangerous flicker rate on these screens that has negative effects on health, well-being, and on brain function. It is a low-level irritant. Iris, this program, will actually change the flicker rate and change the frequencies of light that come out of the screen. So there's a bunch of different modes. There's, let's see. There's so many modes I don't even use. I usually just use health mode and sleep. In the daytime, I use the health mode. Sleep, I use when I want to go to sleep. When you push the sleep mode on Iris, it turns it. It's not in the App Store, Jeremy. Is it in the App Store? No, it's on their website. iristech.co. She'll put the link. You put it on the sleep mode. It looks like you're looking through those annoying orange safety glasses. Reading mode will turn it kind of black and white. Make it real gray. It almost looks like Kindle. It looks like a Kindle. Programming mode inverts the colors. So if you have a bunch of white on your screen, you want it black on the screen so it's not glaring at you. It'll change it to that. Biohacker mode seems like it's kind of like the sleep mode.
It's black and red. Except
it's inverted. It's an inverted sleep mode. Then there's sunglasses mode, which just kind of changes the tint, removes some of the blue. Dark mode, where it makes it darker. Dark mode's kind of cool. I like dark mode in the day, actually. I'm going to use that right now. So there's a bunch of different modes. It just changes the frequency of light. And you'd be amazed at how much that changes the experience of having to work on a computer for a long period of time. Yeah. So yeah, Iris is cool. F.Lux is a great Flux. F.Lux is a really good one too. And Flux is free unless they started charging for it. But we liked the Iris a lot more. It's worth recommending. Mm-hmm. It was way worth it for us. We actually we bought it twice, didn't we? Mm-hmm. We bought it for each one of these computers. Yeah. Because we couldn't use it on the different devices for some reason.
And would buy it again.
Yeah.
And again and again.
Yeah,
it makes a really big difference for me.
Yeah. We put it on all our computadoras. Yeah. All right. So circadian rhythm and sleep. We talked about that. We talked a little bit about red light therapy. If you want to learn more about red light therapy, we shared a link in the circadian rhythm section of a podcast I did with Scott from Juve, which is the device we like to use. There are other devices out there other than the Juve, and those might be great. I've just not tried them, and I haven't really even seen any reviews of them. Okay. Today, we're wrapping things up, and we're talking about long-term. I'm talking about long-term plans, long-term mind state, and understanding what you're really looking at. Because as we said in the beginning, as we said in week 1, it's so important. It's so important that we understand that this has got to be long-term. It's got to be long-term habits that we're building. We're not looking for a quick fix diet. I know so many of us are trying to lose weight. So many of us have health issues. We want to get in line right away. We got to understand it takes time to figure these things out. right? It takes time for the body to lose weight. It takes time to put weight on. And we don't always get those immediate gratification results that we desire. It doesn't always happen like we want it to happen, unfortunately for us. But what's cool is a ketogenic diet, a low carbohydrate approach, carnivorous diet, allows us to eat exactly what our body needs, allows us to dial in and tune into what our body needs. And if we can format a habit, a structure of habits that we can stick with long term, right, of getting your light cycles correct, of properly hydrating yourself, getting your electrolytes balanced, which is easy. We talked about that week 1. Remember, eating more sodium, making sure to increase your salt intake if you're sweating a lot and losing a lot of water weight. If you're doing these things and you set up the habit framework that you can maintain long term, that's what's most important. It's about long-term adherence. It's not about just short-term get results. It's about sticking with something, enjoying it, and being able to enjoy it for a long period of time. We want long-term habit formation. We want long-term success. It's not quick fix. So today we're talking about long-term adjustments. Remember in week 1 we talked about protein intake. We've all got minimum requirements for protein. About 0.8 grams per pound of your lean body mass is a great place for most people to be on protein. Of course, you can do with a little less. You can do with a little more. Right? Some people might feel better around like 0.6 grams per pound of lean body mass. Some people might feel better on a carnivorous diet on more, right? On like 1.2 or even more grams of protein per pound of lean body mass or per pound of your weight. Or your goal weight, rather. It depends on the context, right? But there's one thing that's true across the board with protein. We all have minimum requirements. And when we figure out how much protein we need to function best, we don't want to go below that for significant periods of time. Right? Unless you're doing some intentional fasting or something like that. We don't want to be ridding our bodies. Or we don't want to be depriving our bodies of protein. So protein stays about the same. Right? Long-term adjustments, you don't really need to adjust protein much. You don't need to, but you might want to, though. Right? So protein, if you're trying to gain some weight, increasing the protein intake by like 15 to 20%, depending on the individual, right? If you can handle a 20% increase in protein intake, if you're trying to gain some muscle, gain some weight, that could be a good idea. Right, some days you might experience super high hunger. Right? During that time of month, a lot of women start to get cravings for carbohydrates. They start to get hungry. Right? So certain times around your monthly cycle, ladies, you might want to increase protein intake a little bit too. Right? Think about this. You're about to go to bed. You're not feeling that good. Your day's kind of off. Your monthly cycle's coming around. And you're feeling extra hungry, feeling cravings for sweet. But you push it. You try to stifle it, right? Instead of going for the cake or something, you grit through it. You tell yourself, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Then the next day you feel even worse, right? Mentally, you're at like this crisis mode, right? Your morale is at an all-time low. You're much more likely to give in to the temptation to like reach for some donuts or something or some old comfort food. So look, if you're feeling super hungry, every once in a while, increasing your protein intake at a meal, having like an extra big portion for dinner every once in a while might be a good idea if you're dealing with these super high stress situations. I'm not saying like stomp out all your desires with food, right? I'm not saying medicate yourself with food, but understand that fluctuating your intake of food is natural. Right? Hitting the same macros every day and being really consistent with food is great. But there are factors that come into play that might make you desire more food. That might make you super likely to like fall off the wagon and do what people call cheat day or something like that. I'd way rather you have more protein or like an extra portion of steak than go off plan. So more steaks instead of cakes. Another reason you might want to lower or raise your protein intake would be if you're trying to lose body fat. Say you're eating 120 grams of protein, but your hunger is so low and it's just difficult to eat it. Right? You're losing weight, your hunger's low, and it's difficult to eat it. This happens very, very often, right? What a great problem to have. You're trying to lose weight and you're losing it too easily. Right? It's so hard to eat all this food. Well, in such a case, it might be good to decrease the protein intake a little bit. Right? I mean, if you're feeling super satiated and you're at least getting, you probably don't want to go much below like 0.5 grams per pound of your lean body mass for an extended period of time. Don't ever go below that. But hey, if you're doing better at like 0.7 grams or 0.6 grams per pound of your lean body mass, or if you just drop your protein intake by like 15, 20 grams from what you've been eating because you're not hungry, that's fine. Right? If you're not hungry, you're losing weight, you're forcing the food in, no reason to do that. Give your digestion a break every once in a while. It's fine to skip a meal now and then. But for the most part, protein is going to stay relatively fixed. Right? You want to gain weight, you can increase the protein. Losing weight too easily, you're not hungry at all, you can decrease the protein a bit. But understand that protein is going to be relatively fixed. That's the cornerstone macro. The macros you adjust are fat and carbohydrate. Now, on a low carbohydrate diet, carbs stay low, so it's super easy. You just don't need them. But if you do come to a place where you're feeling like increasing your carbohydrate intake, what you're going to need to do is also decrease your fat intake. Right? If you have more carbs, you can't be eating the same amount of fat. Right? So more carbs equals less fat. High fat diet's got to be low carb. You don't want a high fat and high carb diet unless your goal is to gain weight as quickly as possible. Right? For inducing insulin resistance and gaining weight as quickly as possible, high carb combined with high fat. So fat intake, you might want to fluctuate a little bit according to your desires, and according to your needs, according to your preference, and according to your goals. So if you're trying to lose body fat, and again, like we talked about earlier, remember, satiety is very important. If you've got a decent level of satiety and you can handle a bigger deficit and you want to lose some body fat, you can adjust the fat macro. Right? Less fat on the plate equals you burn more fat from the body. If you put more fat on your plate, you're going to burn less fat from the body and more fat from the plate. I usually recommend adjusting in increments of about 15 to 20 grams on fat. Protein as well, 15 to 20 grams is a good increment to make adjustments in. But 15 to 20 grams of fat intake, that usually ends up being about a tablespoon. You can do like 1 to 2 tablespoons removal of fat from the diet if you want to burn more body fat. Right? You don't want to just totally pull out all the fat from your diet and eat nothing but lean chicken. That's called a protein-sparing modified fast. It doesn't feel good. It's definitely not a good long-term strategy. So yeah, fat intake, we adjust that according to our needs. I mean, understanding how to eat out is really important too. Another concept for long-term adherence. You gotta understand how to order out at restaurants, right? The most decent restaurants you can go to, you're going to be able to get a steak. So when you go out to eat, last resort, if you don't want to even think about it, just get consistent with just order a steak. Order a ribeye. You can get a decent steak at most restaurants. If you're at like a breakfast place, you got to go out to breakfast. You're on the road. An omelet's fine. You could even bring some hard-boiled eggs with you. We talked a little bit about meal prep strategies as well. But, prepping your food. Having certain foods that you can enjoy is super important. Foods that take minimal preparation. Like me, I really like sardines. They're super easy. Open up a can, eat them. It's that simple. I also like hard-boiled eggs. I do raw egg yolks too. I'm comfortable even eating a steak raw if I have to. I don't have time to cook it. So it's just finding those quick go-to foods that you can eat in a pinch and have around. Some people like canned tuna. I'm not a big fan of the tuna. I just don't like how the canned tuna tastes. But hey, nothing wrong with it if you like it. Let's see. What else here? What else, Jessica? Talked about eating out.
I just shared my article. If people want
Oh, there you go.
further research.
Tips for eating out on a ketogenic diet. Jeremy says they have some really good jarred tuna locally with sea salt. Oh, that's probably really good.
Jarred tuna?
Yeah, jarred
That's a
tuna.
cool idea.
That's how you do it, right?
Yeah.
Cans. What's all these cans? Bring the jars back.
It's good for like if you're just out and about and you don't really have time to stop. You just open a jar of tuna and it'll tide you over to an actual meal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect for that.
That's great. That's really cool that you got local jarred tuna. What state are you in again, Jeremy?
I'm in Oregon.
Nice.
Nice.
Let's see. Let's scroll up here and see what's going on in the chat. Nice. So Jeremy is interested in the Iris. Oh, we already talked about that in the App Store. You shared the link for the Iris for Jeremy, right?
Yeah,
He works on a computer, so he definitely feels the eyes getting dried out and the brain getting shriveled from these dang computers.
That's one of his new goals, is to drop it down to less than 8 hours of screen time per day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and just taking a walk outside every couple hours, right?
Yep.
If you're working inside and on a computer, take a 10, right? Every 2 hours, take a 10-minute break.
And
Go
look
outside.
At things far away.
Yeah, look at things in the distance. Look at, if you got mountains off in the distance, focus on small objects off in the distance. Focus on using your eyes at different lengths, right? Exercise your eyes outside in the natural light. It will help. It'll help a lot. What else? What else are we talking about? Will you go get ribeye? Ribeye's freaking out.
They're playing.
Okay. All right, so social situations. What about social situations, Jessica? Talked a little bit about this. I mean, we just came out of the holidays, so it seems like a lot of people's worries maybe already passed with that. But,
Yeah.
Social gatherings and stuff, it can be difficult sometimes depending on who you're around. Right? Sometimes there's, I don't know, it can be hard with friends and family. Sometimes you might feel insecure. You might think they're judging you about your diet.
But you know what's cool? The better and better that you feel on your diet, the more confident and comfortable you are, not only with what you have chosen for yourself, but you care less about what anybody else is doing.
Right.
And so it's easy. I mean, if somebody comes at you with some snarky remark, it's easier to just let it kind of roll off your back and not get all caught up in that. And I'm seeing that more and more as a theme. People, they feel such profound improvements with a low carb or carnivore type of diet that the social pressures, and these things are also becoming more popular. More people have heard about them before, so there's increased awareness, which coincides really nicely with the profound effects of all the benefits that people are feeling firsthand. So I think times are actually changing here, and it's getting easier and easier. We're starting to see more ketogenic and low-carb options, definitely gluten-free and grain-free options in restaurants. That's getting more public and quote-unquote mainstream. So I would expect this year, hopefully the trends keep going and everybody gets on board.
Yeah. No, I think that's a good point of when you're confident in what you're doing and you're not thinking about it so much, it's not so new to you, you really stop caring. You get much better at dealing with these types of conversations, right? So it's like, if somebody is going to ask you about your diet, share with them, right? And do it in a way that's not, don't try and be defensive about it or overly zealous with them and try and just be yourself. Enjoy yourself. Don't get so attached to what other people think about the diet. Be able to laugh about it. Be lighthearted. Be able to poke fun at yourself a little bit, and those situations aren't so hard. Also, if you don't want to eat food that people are making, like if someone's gonna have a bunch of cake and pasta and stuff, and maybe they'll have a little bit of meat, just get the meat, right? Eat the meat off the plate, skip the pasta. Nobody's gonna be offended. Another thing you could do is eat before you go to gatherings like this. Load up on some steak, right? If there's not gonna be any food you want to eat at some kind of work potluck or something, and you don't feel like bringing something that's friendly to your diet, and you just want to keep it simple, eat before you go, right? You don't have to eat just because other people are eating.
And you can always
at a
say
party.
that you're fasting.
Yeah, or just I'm not hungry,
Yeah.
right? It's just a little.
I think not hungry is kind of the best because it's always awkward. They're thinking, oh, this food is not good enough for you or whatever. And
Yeah.
you're just like,
Yeah,
I already ate. I'm
exactly.
not really hungry. Thank you.
That's all.
Right.
That's what I would say. I would just say I'm not hungry. Thanks. Looks good. Whatever. Smells good.
Yeah.
Or smells like cake. Yeah, you'll learn how to navigate these things as you go. When you're at gatherings with family and friends, focus on what's important. It's not the food. Right? The food's the least importance. Most important thing is the relationships. Most important is the love between you and your family, the love between you and your friends. So don't focus on the little insignificant things like food. All right, now Kyle says, yeah, telling people I'm fasting is much easier when eating out.
Nice.
That's cool. It seems like people understand when you say you're fasting now. It's more socially acceptable, which is kind of new. All right, so we had some people asking questions about alcohol in the Q&A question section. Alcohol on a ketogenic diet, stick to the low sugar stuff. Red wine, a little bit of red wine's fine. Don't be drinking the beers. Don't be drinking the higher carb stuff. Stick to the stuff that is low in sugar, and that's going to be the liquors. And red wine's fine. White wines some can be pretty sweet. Champagne can be pretty sweet, but for the most part, if you stick with the wine and the liquors, you'll be good. Understand that you're going to be more sensitive to it, though. All right, like one drink might feel like 3. Let's see. I don't see any more questions in the Q&A. Anyone want to jump in? Anyone want to unmute? Russ? What's going on, Russ? Me? How's it going, me? Me Lilia is how you say it, right?
Yes.
There you are.
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm doing good.
How have the last couple weeks been? I don't think we talked for a couple weeks now, right? You weren't here last week, were you?
Yes, we talked during the circadian rhythm, but I missed the question and asked. It was really late and I was so tired after work.
No worries. No worries at all. It's just it feels like we haven't talked in a while. I'm glad you were able to make it today.
I've done some big improvements, I think.
Nice.
Because this cycle is the first one I haven't binged on carb.
Nice.
And I think it's because I eat breakfast now.
Hey, hooray!
It's pretty likely, right? And do you find that your energy levels are more stable throughout the day when you change the meal timing there?
Yeah, they are. I think they were stable. I think during fasting, but it's hard to say because I have been fasting for so many years. So I was used to not eating breakfast, but now I do, and the carb binging disappeared. So far, we'll see next cycle.
So far, so good. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, these things are always in fluctuation too. Jessica loves talking about cycles. What do you...
No, I don't.
Well, it's part of a woman's life. What can I say?
No, she doesn't love it.
No, it's great. It's great that you had your first cycle without the carb binging, and now you know that you can do it, and you know what it feels like, and so you just keep up with this momentum, and it'll be even more of a conscious choice. Next month, if you feel that inclination, you're like, you know what? I know there's another way.
Yeah, you're right. Hormones are bad.
They give us a pretty wild ride sometimes, huh?
Yeah.
But I do notice as the diet cleans up, protein can help a lot in this time. And in general, as the diets clean up, the cycle becomes very comfortable. Dare I say it? Comfortable and actually quite normal. It's not that big of a deal. I just got mine a few months ago after Ryder was born. I didn't have it for like 2 years or so. 2 years and a few months, and then got it back recently and had very minimal to maybe one cramp really and no crazy emotional things. For me, I didn't notice any cravings, and it was very short, relatively comfortable, painless.
That sounds great.
Yeah, it can be done, and we see that a lot of times with other females as they do a keto or carnivore diet. Definitely, that is one of the things that is greatly benefited by the changes in diet is the monthly cycle.
And before I started carnivore, I had a PDMS, really bad depression before menstrual. Mm-hmm. And it slowly disappeared. I don't notice if I have PMS this cycle. We'll see.
Well, if you
But I
don't
think
notice,
soon.
then yeah. If you don't notice, then maybe not.
Yeah,
It's
but that's
probably
the
all
thing
good.
about PMS. You don't notice when you have it. It's afterwards.
Yeah.
I
You're
think
like,
that's
oh, maybe I
true.
had it.
Yeah.
That's totally
And,
true.
Yeah.
and you never say sorry for being an asshole to anyone.
Right. Right. Because
They deserve it.
your husband will notice, but you won't notice, and then afterwards, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what usually
exactly.
happens. It'll be like a couple days if it's just like kind of weird, and then it's like, oh yeah, I got my period. That's why. I
Yeah,
get it.
sometimes I'll get bummed because I do get I get how do you, like
You haven't had
less-
a period for like 5 years.
No. I've only had it 2 times since Ryder was in the last like 2.5 years, right? So
Yeah.
my body's still adjusting and it's getting normalized again. But the first time when it first came back, I had a few days prior where I was just kind of lower in energy, and I wouldn't say antisocial, right, but more housebound and more like introverted rather than extroverted. And I was kind of bummed because I was like, man, I just had such an awesome week and I was like really productive and proactive about all this stuff, but now I feel very different. I was like, what happened? Did I do something wrong?
hormones.
Yeah. And then I got my period back. And I was like, oh,
Crazy.
this is new. But I would argue last cycle it was better.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I really do recommend getting a menstrual cup, actually.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
what's it called? Pads and tampons, they're toxic.
Yep.
And you really do feel a difference
Yes.
when you toss them out. Yeah.
Yeah. The cups are great, or the cloth reusable pads are also functional.
Yeah, I've been looking at those too.
Yeah.
Quite expensive here.
Yeah, that can be tricky. But in that case, maybe cups are better.
I think both are good.
Yeah.
It's just that the reusable pads are so expensive.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I think
And the cups are working.
the idea, right, is I mean, if that's more of your style, maybe it's more comfortable for some women, and the idea, I think, is you buy it, once, and then it lasts for a number of years. And when you look at it that way, it's the upfront investment, but you get the ones that are sewn nicely and of good fabric, and they should be quite durable. And you only use them once a month.
Poor guys in this chat listening to this.
I know, huh?
But their favorites here too.
I was just taking a nap. It's all right.
It's a real
But
thing.
seriously, getting my hormones fixed is it's everything to me
Yeah.
because they control my life so much.
Yeah. But now you're
got
learning
this.
strategies of how to control them.
Yeah, you're on the up.
Yeah.
You got the upper hand now.
And eating breakfast, I never thought that cortisol could make such a big difference in me.
Yeah.
And now I
that's
know
huge.
why I've always been stressed out and carb binging and all this
Wow.
crazy shit I do.
Man. What a good lesson to learn.
It's crazy how powerful meal
Yes.
timing is for some people. And I think in this group, some people will relate because me and your situation, the meal timing was so important. And then there's other people where it's like the least important thing in their life. You know what I'm saying? There will be other people in this group where it really won't matter what time they're eating. And they'll get the same results. But in your case, because of your context, because of the circadian rhythm being a little bit off and the history of skipping breakfast and dealing with that high stress during the day and getting those binges and crashes, it's not uncommon. It's very, very common. But, there might be some guys in this group who, get enough protein, and that's all they really need to think about. It's like, okay, as long as I get this much protein, I'm going to lose weight, and I'm not going to be thinking about food. Others of us have to be concerned with the circadian rhythm much more.
Well, in there you are also comparing males and females, which
Yeah.
is different in itself, too.
Yeah, exactly. So we've all got different metabolisms. As Jessica pointed out, we also have different genitals.
Always so
Normal.
observant, Tristan.
Yeah, well, I was quoting you.
Yeah.
I was quoting you.
Both sexes are great though.
That's true.
Yeah, except,
Except those
except
other
the
ones.
one. Except the one that's not what I... No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, it's so important, though. The hormones all of our hormones are triggered by light exposure. The whole rhythm of our hormone production throughout the day is triggered by our light exposure. But also the timing of our meals is very important as well. So, if sleep isn't right, if sleep is off, meal timing becomes more important.
Yeah.
And a lot of us have really messed up sleep cycles, and that's something to be working on. And, the optimizing the home, right? We talked about changing the lighting in the home. We talked about changing the lighting in your bedroom, right? Like blocking out the windows, getting it real dark in there. Turning off the Wi-Fi at night. These things can be super helpful for sleep. So I'm glad everyone's learning. Let's see. Jeremy, what's up, man?
Yeah.
Oh, there's me still here. Thanks, me. It was nice talking.
Thank you.
We'll see you on Wednesday at what time?
At 10. We'll be back.
10 a.m. EST. 10 a.m. EST on Wednesday. So it'll be a little bit earlier for you and me. It shouldn't be so late. What time is it there right now, me?
Now it's almost 8 p.m.
Nice.
Nice, yeah.
So on Wednesday it will be 10 p.m.
No, Wednesday it would be
It'll be 10 a.m. our time.
10 a.m. our time. So it's 3 hours before we started today. So it will be about 5 o'clock your time.
Ah, right. Oh, that's great.
So for you, 5 o'clock. Yeah. We need Discord needs to put like a universal clock so you could. How cool would that be? A little calendar feature in a Discord server. That'd be
The
great.
reminders.
Or maybe we can do like an external calendar for everybody. Yeah.
We'll see what the options are.
Maybe not.
It's nice to see Danielle here. How are you doing, Danielle?
Yeah. What's up, Danielle?
I really like how you posted the experiment you're doing with your ground beef mixed in with the liver. Have you eaten any of that yet?
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, we can hear you. Great.
Okay, great. Last time around, I tried to use my computer to do the voice chat, and it just wouldn't register the microphone. But I'm using my cell phone this
Oh
time.
yeah, I remember because and you were unmuting and we could see that you were unmuting, but we couldn't hear you.
Yeah, it just wouldn't work.
All right.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to try the liver and beef combination. I'll see how it goes. I'll let everyone know. I'm a little nervous about the tasting of it, but we'll see.
Yeah.
It's actually really good. It just adds a little bit of a, I don't know, almost like an herby taste to it. Like an
It's
earthy.
nice though. I think the ratio that you said you did 25% ground liver with about
that'd be mellow.
75% muscle meat.
That'll be really good. Burgers would be nice with that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. That's how I like it too.
I did actually have one quick question about the red light therapy and stuff.
Yeah.
I actually have a propane heater at my house, and I don't know because you had mentioned firelight, like if you have a wood stove or whatever, that can give you also beneficial effects. But does a propane heater work the same, or not really?
It's like one of those. It runs on propane, but there's not a flame. It's not fire.
No, there is a flame. It's one of those really old ones.
So there's like a little propane
has,
fireplace that you see the fire, or I'm not.
No, it's like a rectangle wall unit.
Okay, it's like a space.
It's
it's a space heater.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's what we called it.
It's attached to the wall, and propane comes in, and
yeah. That's not therapeutic, but hey, if you.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, that's pretty cool.
If it gives off red light, that's only to your benefit.
Yeah, it's not.
Right.
I see what you're looking at. Yeah, it looks like the toaster almost, right?
I pulled up some images here.
The light comes from. It looks like a toaster glow.
Yeah, kind of. It does.
Yeah, well, it's not therapeutic as far as the red light therapy goes, but it's way better than computer screen, right? I wouldn't turn that thing off at night thinking that it would cause poor sleep, but I wouldn't. It's not going to be the same as sitting in front of an actual fire or using a red light therapy device, but it's probably fine. It's probably fine to stare at night. Probably pretty relaxing.
Okay. All right. That was really my only question.
Cool. Yeah. Look into the Juve thing is actually really interesting. There might be some. There are a lot of spas that have red light therapy now, and even Planet Fitness has some sort of a red light therapy pod at their gyms. Okay. So you might, it might be cool to look in your local area, figure out if there is like a spa or a gym that has a red light therapy device, and you go test it out, right? Use it for like a week, go 3 days,
Right.
see what it feels like, see if you enjoy it and if it's something you want to pursue more. Because most people, the first time they do it, they feel it and it feels amazing, and they, it's the first time I did it, I could instantly feel the relief. I could instantly feel how it was. And I just felt like the opposite of staring at a computer screen.
Do you remember the first thing that we both said to each other?
We should have got the bigger one.
Yeah. Immediately, we're like forget whatever, like however much it costs, it would have been so better, so worth it.
Okay, cool. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
Sure.
All right. So Kyle had to take off. He'll be here on Wednesday. Hopefully, he'll be here on Wednesday.
Sounds good.
Christine, what's up, Christine?
Hello.
Hey, I can hear you.
Okay. I was just making some notes from what y'all's been talking about. Our chiropractic office, I work for a chiropractor as a massage therapist, and we offer red light
Oh, that's
Sweet.
great.
therapy. So chiropractors are starting to carry it, so that might be something to look at.
Have you seen any interesting case studies or interesting anecdotes there?
No, I haven't used it much yet. I was reading on it. It's kind of one of our add-ons, so they're just now training me in it.
Cool.
Is it a pod, or what's your device look like?
Well, because it's chiropractic, it's kind of like a dome that they put over you.
Do you know the company that makes the one that you guys are using, or is it like a smaller production run?
It's a smaller, yeah. It's
like a
something that
cut-
you lay over certain, like a body area.
Yeah. And was it a custom thing that they had made there, or are they sold?
I don't know. I'll have to ask them. I'll have to ask about it. But also, you were talking about carrying food for social situations. I
Yeah.
always keep, like the cans of fish and stuff like that in a backpack,
They're
or
such a great
beef
resource.
jerky.
Yeah.
Do you keep
But
that? Do you keep the backpack in the back of your car too, or like a stash in the car as well?
I take it in with me. I just take it pretty much wherever I go.
Yeah. That's a really good thing to do, right? Because you never know if you're going to get stuck in traffic, if you're going to have to go take an emergency, road trip an hour away. You never know what's going to happen. And having an extra meal on hand
Stay
is...
late for work.
Right.
Yeah.
Avocados
But I also keep
are-
what's that?
I was recommending avocados. Also, just came to my mind. Those are pretty portable, and they come in that thick skin, which can handle. You can have them out for a few days. And then I also like taking a little container of salt if we ever travel.
Yeah, I have the little to-go packets. I bought them
Nice.
on Amazon.
Yeah.
And then I've got like a cooler, one of those real nice coolers
There
in the
you
back
go.
of my Jeep.
Yeah. That's awesome. And some people, if you got like a SUV or a Jeep, you live up in the mountains, having a cooler and then just like a little stovetop, camping stove. Sometimes, you're out and about, you might, so a lot of truck drivers bring a little camping stove with them. They make their own steaks and stuff. So, and depending on the lifestyle, not everybody's car bound so much, but some of us are driving around all the time.
Yeah, I just like to have stuff with me for just in they see how I eat. But I also tried the liver and hamburger, and I can do that. I liked it.
Nice.
All right.
Great. We got some brave folks in here. Some people who've never
Yeah.
tried the organs before, and they're enjoying them. So
I'm
that's
stoked.
always good to hear.
I can also recommend the ground heart mixed in with the muscle meat. That I find has
Yeah,
an
I
even
actually
more...
liked it better.
Okay.
Yeah, heart's nice. It's very mellow taste.
Yeah.
Almost no taste difference.
Yeah. You could also do all
Yeah.
three together if you ever feel inclined.
A what?
You could do all three. You could mix the muscle meat with ground heart and ground liver.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That, I'll tell you, I brown it and then I whisk eggs, maybe 6, and then, let me think, maybe a half a pound of the meat mixture, and I put those in muffins and I bake them. So you have little egg cups. Those are great. And that's a nice thing to take out too. You know, you can put them in your cooler. They'll last for a few days in the fridge. They're pretty easy to batch. You know, you could double the recipe. And I really like the taste. That is my favorite way to have the ground liver with the ground meat.
Okay.
Because it gives it, with the egg, there's something, it's such a simple recipe. But every time I have it, I'm really impressed. It's a favorite of
Okay.
mine.
Yeah, I did like it though. It was very good.
That's great.
And I didn't taste the liver really, so we're just eating just plain liver. I just couldn't stomach it.
Yeah.
Then we were talking there. The one gal was talking about the pads were very expensive. You can sew your own.
That'd be
You
a
can go
great
to
project.
the.
I think there's actually in the town we live in, there's some ladies who are sewing their own and selling them.
Oh, did that come about?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, so there
Yeah,
definitely
you
are
can
people
get
who do
online.
that.
Yeah, you can get online and get like how-tos,
Sure.
and then also something I did to help with I I guess it was PMS, but I always had a fairly light menstrual cycle, so I didn't have that problem, but I would get moody and not sleep well. And I did the progesterone oil.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do like the stuff that had all the, I don't know, some of that stuff you buy, the creams are so full of crap. There was one oil, it's a progesterone oil, and it's in coconut oil. And it's an oil that you put on before bedtime. And I still use that.
And that helped with your sleep and your mood?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's very calming, and it helps you sleep. So I do like a Epsom salt bath, and then I'll take my progesterone oil, and it helps me sleep. And it helps me stay calm.
Those are all good things.
Yeah, another thing we talked about, L-theanine can be a really nice mellowing sleep enhancer, and it's not like narcotic sleep enhancer where it knocks you out. It's just, and you can take it during the day as well. L-theanine can be nice too, and also adaptogens can be useful for people who are looking for new for ways to kind of improve sleep. If you're unable to make many changes to your schedule to improve your circadian rhythm, sometimes you can get to bed a little bit easier with the help of like holy basil or ashwagandha. I'm not saying that that you personally, Christine, need to do that. I'm just putting some context out there for others who are thinking about
Yeah.
having
The progesterone oil was to kind of help counteract any estrogen dominance, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what they say.
Exactly, and that's why I was mentioning ashwagandha, because these are they tend to have a balancing effect on hormones as well. These adaptogens. I mean, they're not, it's not like directly taking progesterone, which is more powerful, but they can have an effect of balancing hormonal situations and can help people out with that.
And one of the other things I did have to do was I had to wean off of my Starbucks, the coffee and the cream.
Congratulations!
And I had to get off the dairy.
Yeah.
So,
Was that hard?
I did it.
Was it hard?
Yeah, I had a migraine.
For how long? 2 days?
3.
3. Yeah.
But you did it. You stuck with it.
You stuck with it, right? Most people would have given up on the first day.
Yeah.
Well, I did it before. That's how I lost my weight 2 years ago. I just had to get off of all that stuff, and even though I was doing just the keto, I couldn't do like the almonds and the dairy and the caffeine. So, but when I started working all those 10-hour shifts at that factory for like 13 months, I got back to drinking the coffee and
Yeah.
and then
It's so
then
easy
when I
to fall
started
back in.
doing-
So easy to fall back into the old cycles.
Well,
But
I did lose all the weight once I got off those things, but then I slowly kind of got to where I was doing the coffee and the cream, and then I kind of got back on the dairy products, the cheese, and I wasn't losing weight, and I started gaining weight, and so when I started doing the carnivore,
Mhm.
I was still doing a little bit of the cheese and then the coffees, and I wasn't losing anything, so I had to get back off of those.
And
just
how
straight
long-
meat for me.
How long has it been since you made that change?
I started this week, so all last week I was migraine.
Oh man. Well, here's to a new week. Here's to a good week
Do
for you,
what?
Christine. Here's to a new week. It'll be better than last week for you.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, and I know I'll start losing weight now, so
Good.
that's how it went for me last time. I can't have those foods in my diet.
Yeah, no, it's so easy to overeat on them. They're so delicious. I ate literally a liter of cream yesterday. I'm serious. I've been like on a weight gain cycle, and when I can get cream, I'll get as much of it in as I can. And I'll push the cream up to the. It's a great, if you need to gain weight, add cream, right? Anybody listening to this, you want to gain weight,
Right.
add cream. I mean, adding carbs obviously really helps you gain weight, but if you don't want to add carbs to gain weight, a really good way to really increase your fat intake dramatically beyond what you need is include cream, and don't measure how much you're eating. Just open it up and go for it. That's how you gain weight on keto.
Yeah, it was just kind of my treat I had in the middle of my day. And,
Oh, it's good. I can relate.
You know.
I can totally relate. It's a great tool for gaining weight or maintaining weight. For losing weight, it makes it really difficult because it goes down like water. Right? I mean, it's easy to consume as water, but it tastes so good.
Well, I'm so vertically challenged that I mean, 2 pounds makes a big difference on how I look.
Yeah. Well, you should put the cream on the top shelf of the fridge, so you have to ask for.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you married? You can tell your husband. You have your husband ration it out from the top of the fridge.
Yeah, he's 6'1", so.
There you go.
Well, anyway, that's about all I had.
It was great talking, Christine. Glad you could make it today. We'll hopefully see you on Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern time. We'll be here on Wednesday.
Yeah, I can do it.
Nice.
Caitlin, where's Caitlin? Is Caitlin here? She can't talk. All right. Well, everybody jumped in today. Everybody in the chat got a chance to talk, except it seems Caitlin might be away from the computer, which is good. Maybe you'll hear this later. All right, guys. Well, we'll see you on Wednesday. Wednesday's going to be the last Q&A.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, of course you can.
Yes. What's your thought about sunbeds?
Sunbathing?
Yes.
Yeah,
Like sunbeds.
No,
Those
beds, like
artificial.
tanning beds.
Oh, sunbeds in the winter, like a tanning bed.
Yes.
You know what?
Yeah.
All right, so you're gonna have to assess that on an individual basis. Some people are super sensitive to like EMF and electronics for some reason. If you go and your mood improves and you feel astronomically better and there's nothing but subjectively good experience from a tanning bed, go for it, right? But if you go and you feel drained afterwards and you kind of feel like you've been like almost hung over afterwards, some people get that sensitive to electronics. In those cases, it might not be such a good thing to do, but it can definitely be a good way of increasing your vitamin D and really improve with mood and seasonal affective disorder. Also, fires, like just sitting by a fire is a really good thing to do in the winter as well. But the tanning bed can be helpful. Nothing wrong with it inherently. It's the only thing is it's not perfect. The sun gives you the full frequency light. Tanning beds, they're specific frequencies. Some are better than others, but most people who use them tend to get a boost in the mood, and that's if it improves your mood, you feel better. Your hunger lowers because you're getting the vitamin D levels up, and you feel good. That's fine. Fatty fish can be another way to get vitamin D levels up, and supplementation can be useful as well. But you can get a good amount of vitamin D from foods like salmon, like salmon roe, like fish eggs, or just fatty fish.
All right.
And remember,
I thought of asking things. Sun has some really bad reputation nowadays.
Yeah, the sun's been demonized.
So
Well,
maybe, yeah.
just like saturated fat and animal foods, and the sun is definitely demonized. No, I mean, there's something to research, something to make up your own mind about. I'm of the opinion that sunshine is one of the most crucial nutrients we can consume, and our skin is designed to soak it up very rapidly, and I see nothing but benefits when I get significant amount of natural sunlight, as long as I'm not burning myself. And I've seen a lot of other people benefit from it. Some people more so than some people benefit from natural light exposure more than they benefit from dietary changes. Believe it or not. And try working a night shift. You work a night shift every single day. Excuse me, for a few months, night shift, you're not going to feel good, right? I mean, it's just you see a dramatic difference once people get off night shift in their health and then their well-being. So that's an extreme example, right? It's a very extreme light exposure example, but it's very illustrative of what happens when we don't get enough natural light and we're exposed to artificial light at the wrong times.
Yeah, that's true. So I'm gonna experiment a little bit with tanning beds.
Yeah.
See how I feel.
Go for it. Just don't burn yourself.
No, I won't. Like once a week, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you could do 3 times a week. You just got to make sure you're not going, if you go for 30 minutes and you fry yourself, then, it's going to be a problem. You definitely don't want to get burned in the tanning bed. So, just titrate it in.
Okay. Yeah, I will try it.
All right. Great talking to you, Me.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Yeah, have a good one.
Bye.
All right, bye. Bye, everybody. We're going to be in here again on Wednesday, 10 a.m. EST for, that'll be the last Q&A session of this month.
And then our last meeting is Saturday.
We'll have a little farewell meeting on Saturday, but maybe we'll do a bonus Q&A session on Saturday. How about that? We'll do 2 more Q&A sessions.
It is.
We'll do a farewell Q&A and on Saturday, and we'll do another Q&A on Wednesday. So we'll see you Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Good job, everybody. Remember, it's about long-term habits, and skip the cakes and eat the steaks.